I actually need to check the audio on this is working, because it would be a real pain in the arse if it wasn't. So I don't want to do all this commentary and it not to fucking work. Where am I looking? Oh yeah, great. Okay, before I destroy the stream, let's turn that off. Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. We are here for some live commentary of Nottingham Forest versus Brighton in the Premier League. Two sides that are high with European ambition at the moment. Two sides that haven't been too busy in the January transfer window. Two sides that you feel will be happy with the way their season is going so far, but a win here could propel them further. For Nottingham Forest, a win today could send them as high as second, or that would take just a small matter of an 18-0 win today for them to topple Arsenal's goal difference. For Brighton, they're 3 points behind Aston Villa in 8th, but a win would not only rise them there, but would apply pressure to the rest of the top 7. Reminder, there's just 1 point between 4th place and 7th place, and a win for Brighton could close the gap to just 2 points for them. Villa in action a little bit later on, as are Bournemouth and Manchester City. Possibly Manchester City playing today. Manchester City playing tomorrow. Shite, I've got a fact wrong straight away. As are Bournemouth and Newcastle. So, reminder of the team news then here for Nottingham Forest. In goal, number 1. Reminder of the team news then for Nottingham Forest. In goal, number 26, Matt Sells. Milankovic, Murillo and Morato are a back 3. Morato comes back in this change of formation for Nottingham Forest. It looks as if they're going for more routine of a back 3, which means that Ola Aina and Nico Williams will operate as wing backs. Anderson and Danilo, who comes in for his first start of the season, will be playing in the middle of the park with Morgan Gibbs-White as the attacking midfielder. And Chris Wood and Anthony Elanga look set to lead the line. Wouldn't be surprised if Elanga and Gibbs-White pushed wide to allow Chris Wood to operate through the middle. And as for Brighton Hove Albion, Mark Verbruggen is in goal. Lamptey, Dunk, Van Hecker and Veltman look set to be a defence. Hinzelwood comes back in his first start since the appearance in their win against Manchester City early on in the season. Mitoma has been subject to lots of transfer news from Saudi Arabia, but he's staying and he's starting today with Rutter, Minter, Welbeck and João Pedro as an attacking unit. You'd expect Jakob Minter, the young 20-year-old, to try and make a claim to get in the starting 11. He's not quite been able to break in despite a good season. And Jorginho Rutter was subject to comments from Fabian Hertzler about his fitness, but he's trusted from the get-go today after his £40 million move over the summer. Danny Welbeck leads the line. He's 34 years of age, plenty of Premier League goals under his name. For Brighton, he's been a consistent centre-forward for the last 5 years, and he's chosen to operate up top today for Brighton. Nuno Espirito Santo is the Forest manager. Fabian Hertzler is the Brighton manager. And Nuno has named the likes of Jota Silva and Taiwo Awoniyi on the bench, with Ramon Sosa as well as a potential attacking option. For Fabian Hertzler, Webster, O'Reilly, Ferguson and Adingra are also on the bench. A few injury problems for Brighton Hove Albion. Solly March, Igor, both 2 players that had been starting when they were fit. They're both out today, as is Jason Steele, the substitute goalkeeper. So in comes young lad Carl Rushworth, the 23-year-old. He comes in on the bench for Brighton today. We're a few minutes away from kickoff here at the City Ground. And what a season both these two sides are having. The fans with their scarves raised above their heads here. It's Nottingham Forest in red and white. It's Brighton in yellow. My name is Ben Hipkiss for Sheffield Hallam Radio. And we're ready for this 12:30 kickoff on what will be a big day of Premier League football. The referee is Simon Hooper, and the VAR assistants I will get for you when I find them out. Not just sure yet, as we are underway here at the City Ground. And Sells with a long ball to start the match, and both sides will want to settle into this game if they want to establish dominance. You'd imagine it might be a quick start. These two sides love going forward and scoring goals. Nottingham Forest, the home team, they will feel under no pressure too, as Ola Aina is going to pick the ball up and drive on the right-hand side into Elanga. It's intercepted well by Dunk. Mitoma will challenge, but Aina has come away with the ball here. It's hooked away by Lamptey. Tariq Lamptey, been in and out of the Brighton team. Robert De Zerbi showed faith in him, and then he picked up an injury, and he hasn't really been able to nail down a starting spot since Fabian Hertzler has come in. Started his first game back from injury in December and scored at Villa Park just after December. And since then, he's been trying to nail down that right-back starting position as Murillo, who's been one of the most influential figures for Nottingham Forest this season, can drive forward out the back. It's long towards Chris Wood, who wins the nod down. Here's Anderson, signed from Newcastle United, of course. Back home to Murillo, and all of the play is taking place in some real tight spaces at the moment. Brighton are just being forced to pay close attention. Forest are trying to play short, quicker passes, and if they can catch them out, the ball could be in the back of the Brighton net before they even realise. There's a long ball by Murillo is looking for Morgan Gibbs-White. It's intercepted well by Lamptey, and now Brighton can hold possession with Hinslewood. Lamptey again now. Minute and a half here gone at the City Ground. It's Nottingham Forest 0, Brighton 0. And Brighton are in possession just outside their own penalty area. They're kicking away from their travelling support in this first half. So in the second half, any last gasp winners potentially will be taking place right in front of the away fans here at the City Ground. As Ola Aina with a good interception off Lamptey's pass, and Forest can move it quickly now with Elanga. Challenged by Hinslewood, no foul as much as Elanga will protest, and now Brighton will come away with it again. Ball changing possession a lot in these first 2 minutes. Neither side has been able to stamp their authority just yet, but it's early days. Still 0-0 as Van Hecker out to Lamptey as he can encroach into the Forest half for the first time today. He's got Mitoma with him and João Pedro who takes a positive touch. João Pedro, that's a nice 1-2 with Danny Welbeck. João Pedro running into the penalty area. It's João Pedro, it's a good block. And Neco Williams will head away. It's only as far as a Brighton body as Jakub Minter will collect. It was Milenkovic who got his body in there. Now the delivery into the box, that'll be easier to deal with for Forest as it will fall to Lamptey. He could try and take aim. His ball is into the feet of Welbeck. It's blocked and Gibbs-White will turn away. Now there could be a counter-attack for Forest here as he steps inside. Gibbs-White looks to send Elanga away. He will win the foot race and he'll keep the ball in as well. He's got Elena in support. The Forest counter-attack is strong here and Elanga just doesn't get the pass right to Ola Aina and it will go out for a Brighton goal kick. And if that's a sign of what's to come in this game, the intensity that both those two sides countered at, we could be in for a good one. João Pedro's running was excellent to find room, but Milenkovic read it all the way. At the other end, Gibbs-White's pass into Elanga was nice. He just couldn't quite find the end product to find Elanga down the left-hand side. As it'll be a Brighton throw-in now we'll restart from. And just inside the Forest half, the goal kick went long and Neco Williams put it out. The Welsh international, the number 7 for Nottingham Forest. Joined from Liverpool a few years ago, has nailed down that right midfield position for Nottingham Forest over the last couple of years, through good times and bad. As Danny Welbeck takes a tumble and that will be no foul. And it's now Forest in possession. Simon Hooper watching intently, a bit of pushing and shoving going on as the throw is eventually long towards Anderson. Chris Wood will collect and look to drive out. João Pedro presses him. Wood does excellently to find Aina. It's wonderful hold-up play from him. Now back to Morata. Now Milenkovic. And I'll keep you up to date, of course, with the goals in the other games as well. There are 3 championship games underway at the moment. Oxford United at home to Bristol City. Plymouth have West Brom visiting them down on the south coast. And Watford are hosting Norwich City. If goals go in there, I'll let you know, of course, exactly what the scores are there as the Brazilian international Morato steps forward, or under 21 international actually, hasn't quite made an appearance in the main team, I don't believe. As Gibbs-White challenges with Van Hecker and loses it, but it's only as far as Elanga. Down the line to Williams. Anderson is on the overlap. He won't find him. Instead, it'll be Elanga again. That's a nice pass. And it's intercepted well by Jorginho Rutter, of all people, getting back and doing defensive duty. And now Brighton might be able to drive out here if they can get this right. Minter. Good challenge by Neco Williams and the counter-attack is halted. Williams in a protective face mask, as he has sported a few times this season. And he pulls it off better than most do. Fabian Hertzler on the touchline now. He's just sat down back in his technical area. A little bit frustrated, possibly, that his side weren't able to force an advantage as they could have stepped away on the counter-attack there. It's long towards Welbeck. A little shove in the back, but no foul given, and Welbeck can drive. He's got Jorginho Rutter and Mitoma up with him, forced to cut back and hold up possession here as now he's Josh Hinslewood, the youngster. He looks for a little clip out wide to Mitoma. Takes it on the outside of his boot. Stands up Ola Aina. He's got Lamptey on the overlap. It'll be Mitoma going inside. He can strike here. Instead looks for Minter on the other side of the box. Has an overlap again, but Minter, lovely footwork. Gets away from one. Can he deliver here? Sits down Neco Williams, but maybe takes on one too many players as Anderson's able to get his foot in. And now here come Forest again, Ilanga. Only Wood in support, but he stands up and beats Van Hecke brilliantly. It's Anthony Ilanga leading the counter-attack. He's got Aina arriving in the middle. He's got Wood at the back post. Ilanga stepping inside. Anderson. And they'll slow it down. Forest, it was clever from Ilanga, knew the option wasn't on there. Instead, just opted to hold the ball up. Here is Elliot Anderson. And Danilo is in the middle of the park today for Nottingham Forest. It's his first start of the season. Ryan Yates has broken his ankle, so he's not involved. There's a poor touch from Morgan Gibbs-White, has gifted possession away to Brighton, and Rutter is brought down by Murillo, the centre-half, and that's the first yellow card of the game. The Brazilian international Murillo, he has played for the national team, or at least has got himself into the squad. His first addition to the squad was in November of last year. Well, he's picked himself up a yellow card today, been one of the best centre-halves in the league, Murillo, and a yellow card he's no stranger to, but he'll have to be careful now. He will play a minimum of 83 minutes on a yellow card if he is to play all of the game. I wonder if Nuno Espirito Santo may look to rotate him out as the game progresses. That's an early yellow card against the counter-attacking team of Brighton. Hinderwood is on possession in the middle of the defence, and Brighton's system is the same as usual. The back three is flexible, and Lamptey is pushing very high and wide, as here he is now into João Pedro. Hinzelwood, who stepped forward, back to João Pedro. Forest have seen more of the ball, but Brighton have had the only real notable shot of the game. It was a cut inside by João Pedro that was blocked well by Milankovic. We're 7.5 minutes played. It is still 0-0 as the ball can find João Pedro at the edge of the box now. He looks to play a quick 1-2, but it's intercepted by Forest. Hinzelwood out to the right-hand side to delivery by Veltman. Instead, he looks for Jakob Minter as he can try and deliver it. It's blocked by Neco Williams. Danilo will look to step out, but it's won back by Brighton well. Minter's been a problem causer on the right-hand side, but this time Neco Williams gets the better of him, and now again Forest can look to counter-attack with Danilo. Good pressure here by Brighton. Well-bet pressing Murillo. Murillo forced to go long towards Wood. And it's well won by Van Hecke out to Lamptey, and he can sweep it to Duncan. Brighton can restart. Forest in red, Brighton in yellow. Brighton, as things stand, 8th in the Premier League, or will go 8th in the Premier League if they can win today. As things stand, they're 9th in the Premier League. Nottingham Forest, the likely result is that they will stay in 3rd place. If they happen to win this game by 18 goals, they will rise above Arsenal to 2nd. Arsenal play tomorrow in the half-full kickoff against Manchester City. As Brighton look to squeeze the ball in again, but it's João Pedro in a left-back position who recovers possession. This system from Fabian Hertzler, very free-flowing, and the man who was deployed to lead the line, João Pedro, is being during his defensive duties at full-back, as now Lamptey is found by Dunk. He can try and exchange a 1-2 with João Pedro. João Pedro doesn't play it. Instead finds Mitoma. Back to João Pedro. He can collect it inside. Gibbs-White pressuring. Gibbs-White winning the ball back, but collected really well by Veltman. And out again to Tarek Lamptey. Can he stand up Ola Aina? Inside to João Pedro. The delivery could be on here. Tries it towards Welbeck. It's headed away by Murillo. And the header loose there by Veltman. And Chris Wood can battle for it, but Lamptey does well to mop up. Brighton have grown into this game over the last couple of minutes. It's still 0-0, but Brighton probably the better team. 9 minutes on the clock. Tarek Lamptey's been getting involved down the left-hand side. As now Van Hecke is forced to go back home to Verbruggen, the two Dutchmen linking up. Now here's the captain, Lewis Dunk. He's an England international. Van Hecke out wide and slowing down the game now, Brighton. It was intense for a few minutes. Couldn't quite get a grip on the ball. It was free-flowing. There were a lot of counter-attacking going, but now they can try and build a little bit more routinely here with Lamptey. Dunk looks long, but it's won by Ola Aina, only as far as Mitoma, and the ball will go out for a Nottingham Forest throw-in. Danilo was the man to win possession back for Forest. It was played off of Mitoma on its way out. Clever by him, and there'll be a throw-in about 25 yards into their own half for Nottingham Forest here on the right-hand side of the field. Brighton looking to try and box Ola Aina's options in to try and win possession back high. Anderson is showing as is Gibbs-White down the line. It will be thrown down the line by Aina. Gibbs-White flicks it on towards Ilanga. It's won by Joel Veltman. It's brought down by Mitoma on a sixpence. Now João Pedro looking to go down the line past Danilo and succeeds. Mitoma into Welbeck, but it's a loose pass. And now Elliot Anderson can try and drive on the counter-attack. He's hoarded by 2 Brighton men, and that will surely be a foul, and the referee gives it. Welbeck chopped at the heels of Anderson just as he released the ball, and he stayed down and looks in a bit of discomfort. And the yellow card is out of the pocket once again by Simon Hooper. And Danny Welbeck is the recipient. 10 minutes played, a yellow card each for either side. And Danny Welbeck and Murillo are the recipients, and he can have no complaints about this one, Danny Welbeck. Anderson turns him well on the byline, and Welbeck wipes him out. It's late. It's another instance of a Brighton centre forward tracking back and covering at fullback. João Pedro and Danny Welbeck have been seen in that position. Pedro maybe operated slightly better than Welbeck because of this yellow card, and Forest will restart from a free kick. Elanga looking out wide. It's an excellent flick by Veltman, but it's a little bit of room here for Gibbs-White down the right-hand side, and he's into the penalty area. He looks to square it across. Oh, it's turned into his own net, and there's the opening goal. It's an own goal by Lewis Dunk. He's no stranger to it. Forest have hit quickly from the free kick. It's Gibbs-White back in the team, the creator. The quick free kick undid Brighton. Gibbs-White found so much room down the right-hand side, and his low ball was turned into his own net by Lewis Dunk in the 6-yard box. And Nuno Espirito Santo's side lead 1-0. 12 minutes on the clock. They take the free kick quickly. Aina goes backwards with it, but then it's worked forward so quickly by Morato. He looks into Elanga's feet. He dummies and turns. Lamptey's drawn in, and it's found out wide in space by Danilo. There'll be a slight check for offside, but I think Gibbs-White is on, and Lamptey is so far out of position that Gibbs-White has time to pick across. And if Dunk doesn't get his toe out, it's a tap in for Chris Wood. Forward play at its finest from Gibbs-White, and it's unlucky for Dunk, really. He sticks out a toe, and it sort of bobbles in past the goalkeeper. He had no chance, and Brighton, just saying they were the better side in this game, really. They'd grown into it, but they're now a goal down, and it's quick thinking from Nottingham Forest to take the lead. It's a result that Nottingham Forest right now would see them joint second in the table. As a reminder, another 17 of those and they will rise into second place. The goal is given and stands, and Brighton are restarting from kickoff. It's Nottingham Forest 1, Brighton 0 here at the City Ground. And what a season it is for Nottingham Forest so far. And this will be another statement victory for them. It's long by Brighton as they look to try and immediately catch out Forest, but it will go straight through to Sells. And the stats just popped up on the screen. Nottingham Forest have scored 5 more times as the opening goal of the game than any other team this season, which means they tend to score first. They've done it again today. And Gibbs-White looks for an outrageous crossfield switch out to Nico Williams, which succeeds. He must be flowing with confidence now. Long up towards Gibbs-White, who could try and flick it on. It's an advantage in the favour of Brighton, actually. Gibbs-White was a little bit too aggressive on Lewis Dunk there, but it went all the way through to Bart Verbruggen, and Brighton will restart. Lamptey, he's been a sign of the good and the bad in this game so far. He's been Brighton's probably most creative spark. He's been looking to get forward, but on the flip side of that, he's caught horribly out of position for this Nottingham Forest goal. He gets absolutely sucked in by Anthony Elanga. He dummies a run in behind and then spins forward. Lamptey chasing shadows and ends up caught well out of position, and Gibbs-White can square it across. They need to get him on the ball in more attacking areas if they're to get back in this game. Lamptey's a little bit too deep at the moment as he goes over to Van Hecke now, and Brighton can look to step up the field as Forest will give them room. Van Hecke driving forward. He's got Veltman out to his right and uses him. Rutter's making a run through the middle. He's got Minter in front of him, but Forest force him back to Van Hecke again. Himselwood. Now Lewis Dunk. Lamptey. And out to the left-hand side for Mitoma. Reports suggested Brighton had rejected €95 million worth of deal from Saudi Arabia to keep Kaoru Mitoma at the club. Can he pay them back today with a goal that would see them back in this game? Well, it's back home with the Brighton centre-halves again. 15 minutes on the clock. Nottingham Forest 1, Brighton 0. Inside to Rutter now. 25 yards from the box. He can step to try and drive. Stands up Danilo. And is brought down. Doesn't seem to be a foul. He plays on and evades 2-man here. It's brilliant. It's the cutback. It's blocked. And Himselwood, good block. Really good block by Forest defender. That looked like a certain goal. It was the man coming into the starting 11 today, Morato, with it. Now Lamptey can get round the outside of Gibbs-White. Gibbs-White makes the challenge, and it's a clever one. and Aina can try and shepherd it out. It's only as far as Mitoma, though, but it's a foul given against Rutter for his pressure on Morato. Just on the byline, they try and hoof the ball clear. He's got every right to challenge for this ball, you feel, Jorginho Rutter, but he does leave a little bit on the Brazilian centre-half. Wonder whether the ball maybe it's snuck out of play. Doesn't seem like it. And Rutter with just what the business would call afters. But for Brighton and Albion, they nearly got level instantly there just a couple of minutes afterwards. It was really great work by Rutter on the right-hand side to evade two challenges. His cutback so nearly found João Pedro. It was towed away by a Forest leg, and Josh Hinsel would arrive from the edge of the box to lash it. Sells looked absolutely beaten. There's a question of whether it might have been sneaking around the post, but the Forest man took no chances in sticking out a leg, Morato. And he's the man fouled to give Forest back possession, and it's long by Matt Sells towards Wood. Won by Hinselwood. And a bit of head tennis there between Morato and João Pedro. And João Pedro wins out. And that's a lovely little ball up towards Minter, but he couldn't quite get it under control. And Forest will reset now with Anderson. Danilo into Gibbs-White, the provider of Forest's opening goal here. As he makes a good challenge as well on Mitoma, who looked to try and toe in. Full of confidence. Morgan Gibbs-White from the signed from Wolves for £40 million. And has really kicked on since joining Nottingham Forest, breaking his way into the team and nailing down a spot. Made his England debut towards the end of last year as well, which will be a proud moment for him and his family, of course. As Anderson collects the ball, looks for the feet of Chris Wood, but it's read well by Hinselwood, and Dunk will go back to Bart Verbruggen. Brighton just have to not get their confidence get knocked. Before the goal went in, they were probably the better team in this game, although it had been an even one. You'd give it on points maybe in favour of Brighton, but now Forest have that all-important opening goal, and all of a sudden the dynamic of this game has changed slightly. The City Ground is firmly behind their team. Fabian Hertzler's back on his feet and trying to pull strings as best as he can. Nuno Espirito Santo looks calm. A man also who came from Wolves via Saudi Arabia, I believe. I might be wrong on that one, though. That's off my head. That's not from my notes in front of me. As Milenkovic looks to drive out for Forest. Here's Neco Williams. Great challenge on the touchline by Van Hecker, and then a cheeky little nutmeg by Jakob Minter. And now here can come Brighton again. Now here's Rutter looking to go alone, possibly into the feet of Mitoma, and it's really well intercepted by Milenkovic. And a really good header from Gibbs-White can set them on the counter-attack now with Danilo. And now Anderson looks to find Elanga, and that will find him. And here is Anthony Elanga, the Swede. Can he stand up Joel Veltman? He's got men arriving. It's Elanga. Can he go alone? Oof. And it has snuck inches away from the bottom corner from Anthony Elanga. That would have been an audacious solo goal. Brilliant, tricky footwork to work a little bit of room away from Veltman to get the shot away. And I wonder whether it may have been a cross, actually, for Chris Wood. He couldn't get his toe on the end of it. Verbruggen was absolutely beaten, and it trickles just wide of the post. Would have been an extraordinary second goal for Forest had that snuck in. I'm not sure how much of it was intentional. Doesn't get a full connection on the ball, Elanga, which maybe doesn't mean it arches in as much as he'd like. Brighton survive, and they've got to be careful. They got caught quickly on the counter-attack, but now Mitoma has Lamptey ahead of him, can come inside. He's so agile on the ball, Kaoru Mitoma. He goes out wide to Hinselwood on the right-hand side. Now here's Jakob Minter from Gambia, 20 years of age, and he's caught out by Neco Williams, and Elliot Anderson will step forward. Minter kicking at his heels, the advantage is played, and Anderson comes away brilliantly and now finds Gibbs-White out on the right-hand side. It's a 3-on-4 with Forest here, and potentially a foul. It is a foul by Hinselwood, and that'll be a yellow card for him as well. Simon Hooper not afraid to get his cards out here. And Gibbs-White skipped away and had the opportunity to create an opportunity on the counter-attack, and you would argue a cynical challenge from Jack Hinselwood. He can't have too many complaints. That's 3 yellow cards already in this game. 20 minutes on the clock. Nottingham Forest 1, Brighton 0. Forest joint second in the table, third on goal difference as things stand. Brighton missing the opportunity to rise up into a European place, and I think there might actually be a brief VAR check for a red card here. Hinselwood tries to boot the ball away and seems to brush Gibbs-White towards the knee with his studs. The Simon Hooper, I believe, is about to blow his whistle to clear the check. It is check complete, no red card. Would have been harsh, definitely accidental, not too much contact as Murillo will go for a long ball up towards Anderson. He looks to head it across, could fall for Gibbs-White possibly, hooked away by Rutter. Only as far as the free kick taker Murillo, out wide to Ola Aina. Has Elanga and Gibbs-White in support, but Brighton shepherd the options well and force him to go backwards. Murillo again, the switch is on if he can find it, and he does go for it. And it's a lovely, lovely pass out to Neco Williams. That could start Nottingham Forest a little bit of momentum, but the flag goes up against the Welshman. And now suddenly Brighton are getting on with it quickly. Lovely intensity to this game in this first 22 minutes. Both sides just desperate to put the ball in the net. No sitting in deep here. Both sides just free-flowing, counter-attacking football. As the ball is back to Lewis Dunk. But what Forest have done really well so far is they've been able to stop Brighton from finding those quick 1-2s in the middle of the park. They've forced them to operate out wide. And when they're doing that, they're not eager to put the crosses into the box. They'd much rather play quickly through someone like Mitoma. And it means that everything for Forest, the defender, has been straight through in front of them. As Van Hecker into Mitoma's feet. Now out wide to Veltman. Has Rutter on the inside. But again, forced backwards. Nothing on the inside for Brighton. And it's back with the centre-halves, Van Hecker and Dunk again. And these are not who Brighton want on the ball while they're a goal down. Now Lamptey, he can start something maybe. Into João Pedro's feet. Progressive touch, but it's read well by Danilo, and Forest have won possession back. And that will be a frustrating one for Brighton because they've had possession for 2 or 3 minutes and went absolutely nowhere with it. Elanga takes a topple. But no foul. Van Hecker can step forward now. And again, for Brighton, there's only so many times you can feel confident when you see the centre-halves stepping forward. That's a nice ball from Minter actually out towards Jorginho Rutter. And will that go for a goal kick? It will. Too easy for Nottingham Forest, some would say. As I was saying, there's only so many times as a Brighton fan you can sit and watch this game and feel confident when the ball is at your centre-half's feet because they're not creating enough chances now. They had the better of the first 10 minutes, Brighton, but since the goal, they haven't really created a sniff and Sells hasn't been tested. And they could have found themselves 2 goals for that chance to Anthony Elanga. 24 minutes on the clock now, still 1-0 to Forest. No goals down in the Championship. Oxford United 0, Bristol City 0, Plymouth 0, West Brom 0, and Watford 0, Norwich 0. West Brom, as things stand, rising into the playoff places with a draw. Watford and Bristol City missing the opportunities to put pressure on those teams in the playoffs. So big day down in the Championship there. Oxford City as well there. They were in a relegation battle a few weeks ago, but they've done excellently to fight out of it. And now they're in a good position. A draw would be another point and would take them 10 clears of the drop zone. But back here at the City Ground, Forest are pressing the Brighton defence and force them to go long. Milenkovic will gobble it up. It's forward by Morato. And Gibbs-White can bring it down. And there could be a ball in behind for Chris Wood here, possibly, if he can strike it. Wood. Oh, absolutely brilliant footwork and great defending. It was Jorginho Rutter who got back. And he was sat down. And it was Jakob Minter who got the toe on the ball. So it's brilliant footwork to send a man sliding past. And he's half a second away from lashing the ball into the bottom corner. Jakob Minter makes a really well-timed challenge. And Nottingham Forest have been really exciting to watch so far as they have their first corner of the game, taken by Elanga out on the left-hand side. He will take it right-footed. There's 6 Forest bodies in the box. One of them is Chris Wood. The other ones are the centre-halves. Morgan Gibbs-White is in around there as well, as it'll be in by Elanga towards the front post. Oh, and it's in. It's Gibbs-White with the header. A goal and an assist for him. It's 2-0 to Nottingham Forest, and Morgan Gibbs-White's in at the front post. Far, far too easy for Forest, but an outstanding set piece from them. And Brighton have it all to do now. Nottingham Forest 2, Brighton 0. It's not the usual suspect to score a header. We've seen Murillo do it. We've seen Chris Wood do it time and time again, but it's the more intelligent and agile threat of Morgan Gibbs-White. It is an excellent header. This is a really, really good header in at the front post. Excellent direction. It's a really good ball from Elanga in at the near post, but Brighton just don't track their runners. Gibbs-White makes the run from the penalty spot to the front post. The Forest skipper, and he gets up, and it is a brilliant flick on. Verbruggen has no chance. He can only help it into the back of the net, basically. For Forest, that's about as simple as it'll get on paper, but in execution, they have done that outstandingly. A corner to the front post, headed in by an attacking player. Nottingham Forest have 2. Gibbs-White will claim the first. He won't get it, but he'll certainly get this one. And as I say, Brighton have it absolutely all to do now because they are in deep trouble. They have been flat since the first goal and they've been punished with a second. It's Nottingham Forest 2, Brighton 0 at the City Ground. It's Gibbs White with the second one. It was a Duncombe goal after 10 minutes, the first one. And with 26 minutes on the clock now, Brighton have all to do if they want to rescue a result from this game. And they have won the ball back high. João Pedro. There's a ball in behind for Jakob Minter. Will it? Oh, it's a big save by Matt Sells. That was a huge opportunity. Seconds after the second goal went in, Brighton with easily their biggest chance of the game. Forest caught sleeping. Minter's got to go with his other foot. Gets played in behind, tries to open his body up. The angle's too tight for that and Sells can smother him. If he goes with power with his other boot, he has the whole near post to aim for. Lacks composure, makes the wrong choice in front of goal, and it'll be saved well by Matt Sells. And there's a reason he has the most clean sheets this season. Brighton coming forward again. They've been rejuvenated by that goal slightly. Here can come Minter again, but it's won back again by Nottingham Forest. And again, Nottingham Forest can maybe look to counter. Murillo looks to step out. He's fouled. And that'll be very frustrating for Brighton, and particularly Fabian Hertzler, who can only watch helplessly as his side have missed the chance and been second best in this first 27 minutes. Forest 2, Brighton 0. Free kick to Forest, 30 yards away from their own goal. And they will no doubt take their time. Murillo been influential at the back defensively for Forest, but also a threat going forward. Likes a progressive pass, has scored a few from set pieces this season as well. The Forest faithful, it's clear to see why he's a favourite of them. And Nottingham Forest 2, Brighton 0 here at the City Ground. And Gibbs White and Simon Hooper just deep in conversation. Maybe him, the Forest captain, asking for a yellow for a Brighton man. It's not going to be given. And we'll restart here with the Forest set piece. Gibbs White looks for a switch. And Nico Williams is in so much room here. He could drive towards goal if he wants. He's got Anderson on the overlap. It's going to be Nico Williams going alone. Oh, inches away. And for Nottingham Forest, they could be running rampant. It is Nottingham Forest 2, Brighton 0. And it could be 4 or 5 with the chances that they're getting to take shooting opportunities. It's a brilliant ball by Gibbs White out to Nico Williams. And he's brought inside so easily. And he's hit that so hard. I think it's hit the base of the post and away. So Forest, 2 goals to the good. It does hit the base of the post. Verbruggen beaten again. And the Welshman nearly gets a goal to his tally. And it was nearly a dream third goal for Nottingham Forest in under half an hour. 28 minutes on the clock. Still Forest 2, Brighton 0. Murillo shielding for a goal kick potentially. Spins Minter. That is outstanding footwork from the Brazilian. And he looks long towards Wood. It's won back by Hinzelwood. And Danilo will collect. Lovely switch out to Ola Aina. Being stood up by Lamptey. He's got Wood in support. Uses the feet of Chris Wood outside the box now. He could take aim. Goes for it. And it's tipped over by Verbruggen. Good diving save from Bart Verbruggen. That Chris Wood never really looked like he was going to score with this opportunity. His forte is certainly not shots from outside the box. But it's intelligent attacking play. He knew there wasn't much on it. It's a tight angle. Maybe it takes a slight deflection actually. And Verbruggen just had to watch it over the bar. And he's in such good scoring form, Chris Wood. You can't argue against him taking aim from distance for once. Inside 6 yards, you think he'll score. From 20 yards, not so much. But it's given Forest another corner. And as we saw from the first corner of this game, they can be dangerous from them. Gibbs White might be a target again. It's into the front post. It's headed again by Gibbs White. And that could have gone anywhere. It's headed away by a Brighton head. They're not winning the first contacts, Brighton. That's a lovely spin by João Pedro. And suddenly the counter-attack could be on for Nottingham Forest here. It's João Pedro and Jorginho Rutter. There's plenty of Forest bodies back. Welbeck's arriving, and it'll be held up by João Pedro to allow reinforcement to come. They come in the form of Hinzelwood and Lamptey. So the former on the ball now. Now Mitoma looks to stand up Anderson. He can go to the byline, looks to drill it across. It could fall to Lamptey at the edge of the box, and he's drilled it over the bar. High and wide for Tariq Lamptey. Again, good forward play from Brighton to create an opportunity. They've got to be clinical when they're getting in these shooting positions. Mitoma stands up well. They'd win the first contact again, Forest, but it falls well to Tariq Lamptey at the edge of the box. Saw him score from a similar position at Villa Park a month ago. This time he doesn't get his head over the ball and he lashes it high and wide over the bar. And for Brighton, it is frustration once again as Mitoma is, I think, receiving some treatment possibly here. Forest are going to get on with it. They have no reason to wait for Kaoru Mitoma. So forward will come Nottingham Forest. Aina. I think Mitoma possibly getting some contact lenses put in it by the looks of it, or maybe some eye drops. something like that. He is having work done on his eye either way on the touchline. He looks to be in a little bit of discomfort. No goals in the Championship, but a red card for Bristol City. Joe Williams has been given his marching orders after 30 minutes. It was a straight red card by the looks of it. I'll give you more information on that when I find it out, because Anthony Elanga is down the byline. He's got Chris Wood at the back post. It's 3-0. That is easy for Nottingham Forest, and they are running rampant. Chris Wood at the back post with a header. Anthony Elanga with a cross. How many times have we seen that this season? And Nottingham Forest are running away with this after half an hour. Brighton caught absolutely sleeping. They'll be a little bit frustrated because they were a man down during this build-up. But Forest had no reason to put the ball out of play and wait. Elanga was found down the right-hand side. Again, it was Lamptey caught out of position. It was very similar to the first goal in a sense that Elanga picked up the ball by the byline and had the chance to drive towards the 6-yard box with ease. He just keeps going. Lamptey loses out on the challenge, loses out on the 50-50. Wood is onside, and Van Hecker loses sight of him completely, and he just heads it down into the bottom corner. And Anthony Elanga finds Chris Wood at the back post. Nottingham Forest to 3 goals to the good, and this has not been a good away day for the fans of the side on the south coast. It is Nottingham Forest 3, Brighton 0 after 32 minutes in this game. Chris Wood has one. Morgan Gibbs-White has one, and there was an own goal for Lewis Dunk in there somewhere as well, the opening goal. And Nottingham Forest are running rampant. There is just a little VAR check on whether Chris Wood was offside. To me, it looks as if he's behind the ball, but the angle could be deceptive. They're going to draw the lines here. But regardless of whether Brighton are given a reprieve or not, this first 30 minutes has been dismal from the Seagulls. And Chris Wood is just being explained to here what the decision might be from Simon Hooper, what they're checking for. The ever infamous lines will be coming out shortly. To me, it looks as if Dunk is just behind the ball. Chris Wood is just behind the ball, but maybe just ahead of Lewis Dunk, who is the last Brighton defender. He's certainly ahead of Van Hecker, the man marking him, but Van Hecker isn't relevant to this. If they spin this angle round and get the lines on it, we'll find out. It's Elanga just inside the 6-yard box, or just outside the 6-yard box, about 8 yards away from goal, clipping it to the back post. Dunk is ahead of Elanga, possibly ahead of the ball as well, which means that it's a case of whether Chris Wood is behind either of those two. If he's ahead of both, this goal will be disallowed. Could be one of those where the leaning body of Wood, as his momentum starts taking him towards the back post, he might have just strayed offside. Difficult to tell. Simon Hooper again stands away. This is a long check here. The lines are shown, and it's clearly onside. I don't know what's took them so long. I spotted that instantly. There's about a body's length of daylight between Lewis Dunk and Chris Wood at the back post. It's took them a good few minutes to decide that, and the goal is given, rightly so. Chris Wood has another one. I believe that's his 14th goal of the season, Chris Wood. And the Forest fans sing Chris Wood again. They've seen it so many times this season, the New Zealandman. He's close to being, I think he is his country's all-time top goal scorer. He's close, if not Forest's leading Premier League era goal scorer. And we'll restart again, Brighton, with their 4th kickoff of this first half. They've shipped 3 and they started this half off as well. And it has been a bad day at the office so far for Brighton. They need a goal really inside this first half if they're to get this game back on track, because you don't feel like Forest, with all this momentum behind them, will slip up in the second half with their crowd behind them. High pressure from Forest, high energy. Lamptey looks to get out. Now here's João Pedro. Looks to find Mitoma. It's smothered by Ola Aina. And it'll be a Brighton throw in about 45 yards away from goal on the left-hand side. It'll be Lamptey to take it. And again, for Forest, this intensity is so high. They're not even allowing Brighton to take this throw in because they have no options. And in the end, they just gift it back to Forest. Lamptey's throw in was woeful, as Murillo will win the header. Hinderwood will collect. It's into the feet of Rutter. Out wide to Jakob Minter. Looks to clip it towards the back post to Welbeck. He won't be able to find it, and it'll be cushioned and cleared away by Ola Aina for a Forest throw-in, for a Brighton throw-in, near the corner flag, and they will possibly look to take it quickly here. Lamptey's options weren't on. And Rutter is the man arriving. Instead, he will use João Pedro in a little bit of space. If he can try and win a set piece, looks to cross it into the box. It's towards Minter and volleys it into the ground. Doesn't get enough venom on it, but it could have been tricky for Sells as it bounced up. Does well to get two hands behind the ball and safely stop it going in. Minter with an acrobatic sort of attempt, had to get his boot high to swing round it, couldn't get a clean enough contact, and it'll be held by Matt Sells. Here, Nottingham Forest 3, Brighton 0, 36 minutes on the clock. Brighton, the biggest chance of the game came to Jakob Minter in between the second and third goals, as he got one-on-one with Sells, but his decision-making let him down. He went for the wrong option, and Sells smothered him. As the ball is in behind here for Elanga, and he's one-on-one with the goalkeeper. It's a simple ball through the middle. It's Elanga, and it's scuffed and covered by Lewis Dunk just about. That was probably the most clear-cut opportunity Forest have created from open play. Obviously, the header at the back post for the third goal was a big one as well, but Anthony Elanga was bearing in on the goalkeeper there. Dunk did really well to shepherd him just slightly wider, possibly, putting him off and then sliding in. I'm not sure whether he makes any contact on the ball, but Elanga couldn't strike it firmly across the goalkeeper. And it was saved by Bart Verbruggen. And Brighton have got away with one. They haven't got away with the other three, though. And there are a couple down here, and it is not going well for them. Oh, there's been another red card in the Championship as a violent conduct red card for a Watford man, Rakumbayo, has been sent off in their game against Norwich City. All Championship games are still 0-0. There was a red card for Joe Williams for Bristol City away at Brighton and away at Oxford, sorry, where I've got Brighton from, probably the game I'm watching in front of me. And Plymouth and West Brom is still 0-0. West Brom look to be the better side in that game, but for Plymouth, the bottom side, they'll be hoping that they can get a result that might turn their season back on track with a big win here. They did get a result against Sunderland a couple of weeks ago. They came from behind in that game. Well, they went 1-up and then came from 2-1 down to get a good point away at the Stadium of Light. West Brom at equally as tough fixture, but they do have the home advantage. If they can get a result, it'll be a big one for them. Still 0-0 there. We'll keep you updated with the scores as they go in, as Forest have been playing around the back, and Sells' ball is direct into the feet of Chris Wood, and he can try and play some hold-up now, but he loses possession. It's no foul judged by Simon Hooper, and Rutter will look forward. Welbeck in a little bit of room. It could be Danny Welbeck, and there it is. It's hit the underside of the bar. Has it crossed the line? The goal is not given. I was certain that had hit the back of the net, but it hits the underside of the bar and away. That is an excellent strike from Danny Welbeck, and it is so unlucky that it hasn't dragged Brighton back into this game. We'll see here from the goal line technology system. Wow, that is close. That is ridiculously close. Danny Welbeck stands up Milenkovic and beats him, and that is right towards the top corner. It's actually an outstanding save by Sells. The ball would have been sneaking straight into the top corner, but he gets a slight fingertip that puts it onto the underside of the bar, and Simon Hooper's watch says no, and the replay confirms it. Rutter had won the ball back off Chris Wood and found him at the edge of the penalty area, and there wasn't really a shooting opportunity on until he made it with a quick step over. And it's an outstanding save by the Belgian, Matt Sells. And Danny Welbeck inches away from giving Brighton some hope in this game. But that might bring them a bit of momentum, and they can come forward now with Rutter on the right-hand side. Looks the overlap for Minter. Can he cross into the box? It's going to be a Brighton corner, their first of the game. Murillo got the interception on the cross. And Brighton maybe just looking to finish this half strong and give Forest something to think about in their team talk at half-time. It'll be an easy chat for Nuno so far. His side are 3-0 up and comfortable. If they can just get one goal and plant a seed of doubt in these Forest brains, they might be able to stage a comeback in the second half. The centre-halves are up here. The likes of Duncan Van Hecker are in the penalty area. Mitoma and Lamptey will loiter at the edge of the box to try and feed off some scraps. It'll be in by Minter towards Van Hecker. It's headed away by Milenkovic, only as far as Jack Hinklewood. As he looks to the back post, again towards Dunk. It's won by Aina, and a cute back heel from Gibbs White finds Aina again. And Forest have been able to navigate that tricky bit of defending, and they have a comfortable spell of possession now at the back to enjoy, as Gibbs White finds Aina down the right-hand side. Elanga's bursting through the middle. Dunk will make an easy interception and knock it down to Tariq Lamptey. João Pedro looks long to Mitoma. Gibbs White gets a head on it and does just enough to evade the Japanese's feet. And now the ball with Danilo in the middle of the park, out to Murillo. Brazilian, member of the Brazilian national team squad in November 2024. Didn't get on the pitch for them, but has been called up as part of a Brazil camp in his career. He'll be hoping by the end of the season he might be able to make a start for the famous side. As the Serbian Milenkovic, he's played many games for his nationality, and he's filling in alongside him with Morato, another Brazilian, the number 4, He is another 21, but hasn't played in the main team just yet. As Gibbs White looks for a cute flick down the line towards Anderson. It's read by Hinslewood. Now Dunk into the feet of Jorginho Rutter. Has Minter with him. Looks to maybe try and build something on the counter-attack. Rutter, but hasn't got an awful lot of option. Out wide to Minter in the end. Back to Joel Veltman. And now Van Hecker. Out to Jakob Minto, looks to deliver to the back post. Welbeck's in there and he couldn't get any clear contact and anything from Danny Welbeck either side of Matt Sells, and that would have been the first goal for Brighton in this game. Welbeck has come close in the last 2 minutes. He's a man on a mission to drag Brighton back into this game, but he couldn't quite get on the end of that cross. Forest survive. Still Forest 3, Brighton 0, 42 minutes on the clock. Brighton just starting to knock on the door a little bit, and they have to do that if they don't want to whimper out in this game. As Veltman now with the overlap. And he's pettily shoved over by Nico Williams. It won't be a foul and Brighton will take the ball quickly, but Simon Hooper will pull them back for a rolling ball and they'll be forced to start again from this set piece, and they go back to Van Hecker. Out wide now to Hinslewood. Now Veltman into Minter, has Rutter with him. Again, Forrester keeping Brighton out wide, and it means that those key players are just not getting on the ball enough. João Pedro's got a tiny footwork. He hasn't been allowed to use it so far. Neither really has Cairo Mitoma. And Lamptey almost sells Lewis Dunk short to Anthony Elanga, but he steps in there and wins the ball back well for Brighton. 43 minutes on the clock, almost half-time here. It's Nottingham Forest 3, Brighton 0. Veltman into Minter, back to Veltman. He can look to cross evenly, but that is a rubbish ball into the box from Joel Veltman. And it'll be out towards Hinslewood. Looks to try and hook the ball into the box, but no pace and no direction on it. And it doesn't even beat the height of the knee of the defender at the front post. All the Brighton bodies were towards the back. It needed to be more powerful and higher from Veltman, and he gets it all wrong. And now Brighton can step forward again. It's Van Hecker looks for a long ball towards Minter. Won well by Murillo. Danilo can look into the feet of Elanga. He looks to prop it up for Chris Wood, but Van Hecker gobbles the ball up. And 43 minutes now on the clock, 2 minutes before half-time. It's better to be a little bit of stoppage time because of that VAR check. They took far longer than they needed to check whether Chris Wood was onside for that third goal. To the naked eye, he was very clearly onside, but nothing wrong with being safe, I suppose. And we will play the additional time in a few moments of how long that took. And Brighton, can they get one goal back in this game? Now Van Hecker with Dunk. Out to Lamptey. Inside to Dunk. Back to Lamptey again. Forced back for the 50th time or so this game for Brighton, as they've seen more of the ball now and haven't really been able to do much with it. Van Hecker looks to switch it towards Mitoma. And he did get his head on the ball, but it was never getting anywhere near the target. And just another look at this Danny Welbeck strike on the goal line technology system. It is clearly not over the line, but the majority of the ball is in the back of the net. Of course, the whole ball has to cross the line. So that fifth or so of the ball that didn't sneak over has denied Danny Welbeck a goal. Is excellent footwork, and it is a magnificent save by Sells, because when you're talking millimetres like we are with how close that ball was to crossing the line, when your goalkeeper gets a tiny glove on the ball, that'll stop it from being a wonder goal right in the top corner, and instead diverted it into being surely a save of the game week contender from Sells. Now, we've seen some great saves here at the City Ground. Emi Martinez with a notable one in Nottingham Forest 2-1 win against Aston Villa, but Sells won the save of the month last season with a beauty, or last month, sorry, and no foul on Lamptey as he's brought down, and now Gibbs White will drive forward. Welbeck thought about taking it at his heels, but knew he was on a yellow card, so he refrained as Gibbs White got to skip round him. Lamptey is back on his feet. There'll be 4 more minutes of stoppage time here. We're into the first minute of that now. It's Nottingham Forest 3, Brighton 0. And Forest just looking to slow this game down. They'll be ready for half-time now. They'll be ready to go and have a sit down and go out and try and win this game in the second half, as Danilo into Gibbs White. He looks to help it out wide to Nico Williams. Couldn't quite get it trapped, but in the end does, and that will be a foul. Both Nico Williams and Danilo went down on the challenges, and I believe it was the one on the Welshman that the referee gave for Hill. Veltman just into the side of him, and it's definitely a foul. Wonder if Veltman might be the recipient of a yellow card. The way this game's been going, the ref has got his cards out, Simon Hooper, but he evades it on this occasion, I believe, as there has been a goal now in the Championship. Josh Sargent has put Norwich in front against 10-man Watford away from home. That means that Norwich's outside playoff hopes are back up and running. They're 3 points adrift of the playoff places now, as Chris Wood had his 15th goal of the season. Sorry, I said 14 earlier. He started the day on 14. He scored his 15th today, and he's just 4 goals short of Mohamed Salah in the Golden Boot race. Now, in the season he's having, you would not be surprised if Chris Wood tried to push him to the limit, as Forest have a free kick about 50 yards away from goal, right out on the left wing, and they try a little routine and they try a little clever through pass, but Gibbs White overhits it to Elanga. The captain, he's had an influential first half. The creator of the first goal, it was an own goal by Lewis Dunk. Forest took a quick free kick, and Tariq Lamptey was caught out of position after some good work by Elanga. Gibbs White drove down the right-hand side, looked to square it to Chris Wood, and it was turned into his own net by Lewis Dunk. The second goal was a header from a corner by Gibbs White at the front post. It was in by Elanga, and he got ahead of his man and glanced a wonderful header pass for Bruggen at the front post for the second goal. And the third one was a Chris Wood header at the back post. It was Elanga with the assist. He once again found room past Tariq Lamptey down the right-hand side and chipped it across, and Chris Wood was it acres of space to head home. Brighton will come forwards now. 2 minutes left of this half. João Pedro looks to dance a little bit here with Aina and Chris Wood in front of him, and Ola Aina reads him absolutely like a book and pushes the ball out for a corner. Frustration a little bit for João Pedro there, because he had the chance to swing the ball into the box and he opted to try and beat Aina, and all he could win his side was a set piece. And they haven't been winning the first contacts from these today. They haven't been effective from their own set piece, and they've conceded from one of Forest's. So all the players in the 6-yard box now, and Lamptey will look to deliver. It's a low ball to the front post, and it's bouncing around. The first contact this time was won by a Brighton man. It was Rutter looking to flick it across, but couldn't get anything on it. Lamptey's delivery is a poor one, and it's hooked away by Danilo to Gibbs White at the edge of the penalty area. A minute left of this half. Forest 3, Brighton 0. Gibbs White looked to dance inside and just about evades the man, finds Elliot Anderson, and he looks to skip away, but there's a foul given by Simon Hooper by Joel Veltman on Anderson, and Fabian Hertzler watches on the touchline. Doesn't look the happiest of men, and there's about 30 seconds left of this half, and Morgan Gibbs White has been pulling all the strings for Nottingham Forest. That's exactly what they wouldn't have wanted to happen. Long by Murillo. Up towards Elanga, who wins the header, looks back for Gibbs White, but Mitoma gathered it, and Mitoma can now drive. He's got 2 men on him, and that says a lot about Brighton today, because he was unable to skip past any of the 3 men in front of him. Got tackled by the first challenge, and Forest have come away with possession again with Ola Aina. Inside to Danilo, looks back home for Morato, the Brazilian, and there are the 4 minutes played, which means that halftime will be any second now, and Nottingham Forest are 3 goals to the good. And there is the halftime break. It is halftime. Nottingham Forest 3, Brighton 0, just to give you those championship scorelines as well as there, all 3 half-time. Oxford 0, Bristol City 0, Plymouth 0, West Brom 0, and Watford 0, Norwich 1. Watford down to 10 men, as are Bristol City. So those are the scorelines so far, but here at the City Ground, it's Nottingham Forest 3, Brighton 0. And back for the second half now here at the City Ground, and there is a triple change for Brighton to bring you coverage on just before we head off for kickoff. 3 changes. So Fabian Hurtsler obviously unhappy with the way this is going, and Gomez, Adingra, and O'Reilly are the men on. And the likes of Karim Matoma has been taken off. I'll get you those 3 names that have come off as quickly as I can. As we have João Pedro off for Diego Gomez, the number 25 for Brighton. Simon Adingra for Karim Matoma, and Matthew O'Reilly has come on in the middle of the park for Jack Hinshelwood. And those are the 3 changes. So a reminder of the lineups now, as the second half is just underway. For Forest, Sels, Zingol, Morato, Milinkovic, and Murillo is a back 3 with Aina and Williams either side of them as wing backs. Anderson, Danilo, and Morgan Gibbs-White are a midfield 3. Gibbs-White has certainly been pushing higher, and he's been pulling the strings and definitely been the best player on the pitch so far. Elanga and Wood lead the line. Wood has been through the middle, Elanga probably more out wide, with Gibbs-White floating as well. And for Brighton, Verbruggen is the keeper. Veltman, Van Hecke, Dunk, and Lamptey is the back 4. Hinshelwood is in the middle of the park, but he was taken off just now for Matt O'Reilly. Danny Welbeck is up top with Rutter and Minter, and Karim Matoma was taken off for Simon Adingra. So changes for João Pedro was off for Diego Gomez as well. I've got myself confused there as Brighton look to come forward and Forest will clear it away. 46 minutes on the clock, Nottingham Forest 3, Brighton 0. Let's start again with those team lineups as Tariq Lamptey's just taken a tumble, and it'll be a goal kick to Nottingham Forest because he was not fouled by a Forest man. For Brighton, Verbruggen, Lamptey, Dunk, Van Hecke, Veltman, Gomez, Adingra, O'Reilly, Rutter, Minter, Welbeck is the starting 11. Gomez will probably slot into the middle of the park. Adingra will probably go out wide. Danny Welbeck, despite being on a yellow card, is keeping his place up top. João Pedro and Karim Matoma were sacrificed from that attack, which is a surprising one, you'd feel. But the game plan has certainly been wrong by Fabian Hurtsler because they've been caught sleeping and caught out and been in an awful lot of trouble by Nottingham Forest a few times. And so maybe it had to be a system change. Maybe it had to be those 2 coming off as well. As long ball is by Sels. O'Reilly goes long towards Rutter, but it's won by Gomez and then collected by Veltman as he looks long towards Simon Adingra, who can't get a header on it, and so it'll be away by Neco Williams as Gibbs-White again finding room, and he finds Elanga out to the right-hand side. He goes round Adingra. He's got men on the inside. It's Ola Aina now, and he is still driving. He looks to take a tumble possibly, but stays on his feet to retain possession. It will be a Nottingham Forest throw in, and the Forest fans in front of him enjoying that one a lot, as he did really well to battle and keep possession there. It's still Nottingham Forest 3, Brighton 3, Brighton 0. Not settle back into this. Oh, fucking hell. As Danilo on the edge of the box from a throw-in. He can look to be delivered into the back post, and Milinkovic was up there, but just well shepherded by Brighton. And now they can get moving quickly now with Jakub Minter, the Gambian forward, as his switch is delightful up to Simon Adingra. He's got Gomez with him. Steps on the outside. And it was struck by Adingra. He looked to drop a few step overs and curl the ball towards the top corner, but he doesn't get it right. It goes flying high and wide. And for Brighton, the positive is there in these first 4 minutes of the second half because they've got forward and got shots away, but the shots have got to be an awful lot better than that one if they're to get Forest to give Forest any trouble. It's a good metre high and a metre wide, so Sels was in no danger and could watch that one safely over the bar. And the Brighton fans have come in their numbers from the south coast. Not too bad of a trip, not as bad as it could be to East Midlands here for Nottingham Forest. 4 or 5 hours possibly for them. It's they'll be back in home for tea, and they'll be hoping that they can come back with stories of their side making a comeback as Rutter loses out possession, and Anderson will find Murillo, who will go long. It's headed by Van Hecke down towards O'Reilly. Now Veltman. And Van Hecke looks to step out with the ball as 49 minutes on the clock here. It's Forest 3, Brighton 0. It's Ben Hipkiss for Sherwood Hallam Radio reporting. Gomez into Adingra. And Gibbs White will stand him up and he'll force to go back inside to Gomez. Now O'Reilly, and he can find a bit of room and he looks in space to Adingra and it's really well challenged. That was a really nice progressive pass from O'Reilly, and Adingra was a slightly better first touch away from being completely in and one-on-one. It was a really nice move by Brighton. It was really well read by the defence. And Forest's clean sheet for now is still intact. Now O'Reilly into Van Hecker, out to Dunk. He scored an own goal to get this game going. It was 12 minutes in, and it gave Forest the opening goal. The other ones were scored by Morgan Gibbs-White and Chris Wood. As Gomez now again looks for a progressive pass. He's been creative since he came onto the field. He's been looking to try and probe as he looks to deliver, and it's almost over everyone in the box. It was Neco Williams who got a little flick to find Jakob Minter. He swings it in towards Welbeck, and his first touch wasn't good enough. He's a bit chaotic now for Nottingham Forest. Brighton are coming forward, and there were chances there to score a couple of times. Now with Adingra. Now to O'Reilly. Has Minter with him. He can go for goal instead, but actually it's an attempted cross out to the other side for Minter, but Minter hadn't made the run. Aina wasn't aware of that, and he under no pressure touches it behind for a Brighton corner. Brighton clearly changed strategy here because they're looking now for more clever passes into space and into gaps rather than balls into feet. And O'Reilly and Gomez, the two changes of the side that are making those differences. They've both looked for a few of those passes and they have won themselves a corner now. And it will be O'Reilly, the substitute, to come over to take it. Dunk will be an obvious target in there, as will Van Hecker. And it will be in, right-footed, and it nearly fell for the head of Welbeck. It was won well by Milenkovic and then headed by Anderson. And then chance maybe for Welbeck to get onto it, but it was shepherded well and Sells came out and made the claim. It's Forest 3, Brighton 0. Sells with the ball in his hand, and here 39 minutes away from another clean sheet for him. And another clean sheet for the Serbian Dominik Milenkovic. He's been part of this Forest revolution this season. Him and Murillo have formed a formidable partnership as the ball is long, and it will go straight through to Van Hecker as Alanga couldn't quite get the flick for Chris Wood. Rutter looks to step inside and pressured firmly by Murillo, does well to keep possession. Jorginho Rutter, and now finds Tariq Lamptey out on the right-hand side. He can deliver again. His cross is weak, but it's fell to Adingra in a bit of room. He can step inside maybe, and he's shepherded really well, and Danilo will hook it clear. There was an opportunity to get the shot away, but the defending was really good from Forest, and in the end they have retained possession, or they've conceded possession, but kept their goal clear. Dunk with it at the back. Gomez calling for it in the middle. Van Hecker instead was the choice, and Brighton have come out in these last 8 minutes of the half and had 81% of the possession, so it's been all Brighton, but they haven't been able to show any real signs that they're going to cause Forest problems. Haven't really tested Sells too much. There was an outrageous save he made on Danny Welbeck's strike in the first half, but other than that, they haven't made him work all too hard. He's not had too much to do in goal, so they need to change that. And Van Hecker into Diego Gomez, the Paraguayan youngster. His pass is read and intercepted by Murillo, but only as far as O'Reilly, who he himself came off the bench. The Danishman, Matt O'Reilly, joined from Celtic in the summer. Now here he is with Diego Gomez out to Veltman, into Simon Adingra. And the cross is into the box towards the back post. It's headed away by Aina. Now here's Lamptey. Has that touched the hand? It has. And Lamptey will protest his innocence, but the referee has already blown his whistle for a free kick to Nottingham Forest. And Tariq Lamptey, he will argue maybe he was pushed into it slightly by Gibbs-White, but no doubt that he doesn't bring that ball down with his arm, and so a fair free kick for Nottingham Forest, in my opinion. Still 3-0. Sells will check his studs before launching this ball long. Chris Wood is the obvious target. Van Hecker's in his back. Sells steps up. Won by Wood, but it will ricochet into the path of a Brighton body, and Lewis Dunk collects possession and goes back to Verbruggen. Veltman, whose first touch has let him down completely, and the ball will go out for a Nottingham Forest throw in front of the technical areas, and that was an unforced error for Nottingham Forest. And so Neco Williams will take a throw in right in front of his manager, Nuno Espirito Santo, just inside the attacking half for them. Although they will go immediately back home and try and recycle possessions. Milenkovic has it. He looks long now towards Ola Aina, who looks to nod it down to Elanga. Now here's Gibbs White instead, who finds Aina. Can he deliver? It's Aina by the byline, looking to clip it over, and it takes a high looping deflection, and Verbruggen will be able to claim it. He had almost too much time to pick his space and just messed it up a little bit, and his cross ended up taking an unnecessary deflection to send it high. Had the chance to try and pick out a red face in the penalty area, but in the end it was claimed by Verbruggen high, and now Veltman's blushes are spared for his poor first touch that gifted possession away in the first place. O'Reilly. Nice pass up to Dunk, who's in a bit of room, and he can probe and step into the Forest half. Now here is Tariq Lamptey, has Simon Adingra on the overlap. He goes in towards Welbeck, who's brought it down, and he goes down. There's no penalty by Simon Hooper. He's taken an almighty roll the length of the penalty area. He's clutching his head, and Simon Hooper will stop the game so that he can have some treatment. Still rolling, Danny Welbeck. He's halfway to the touchline now. Doesn't appear to be much in this in terms of a foul, but it could have come quite nasty. As Milenkovic maybe just heads the back of his head almost. The ball looped up, and Welbeck had possession. It is a completely accidental collision. That's never, ever a penalty. So Forest will get away with that one. Fabian Hertzler not happy at all. I think if he saw the replay we'd see, he wouldn't be quite so agitated, because that's in no way a penalty kick. And Milenkovic just checking all his teeth are still there. Completely accidental collision. Welbeck just trying to drop his body into the centre half. The centre half not encroaching in any way, just stepping forward to match the challenge, and the back of Welbeck's head collides into the chin of Milenkovic. Welbeck rolling around, and in the midst of it all, Fabian Hertzler is going to be given a yellow card, I think, by Simon Hooper. He protested very fiercely indeed, and possibly was caught by the fourth official with some inappropriate language. And the young manager, Fabian Hertzler, is the fourth recipient of a yellow card this game. And he'll just be called to keep tight, as Welbeck is, I think, cut open slightly on the back of his head. He's on the floor, and they're just dabbing out the back of his head with some bits of medical equipment. Maybe getting the magic sponge out, as we just seen a replay of all three of the goals. Morgan Gibbs White involved in the first two, and the third one was Elanga onto Chris Wood's head. He had so much goal to aim for and just guided it in. And Brighton have it absolutely all to do, and so far aren't doing all too much to do so. 60 minutes nearly played now, 2/3 of this game played, and Brighton are still 3 goals to the good down away from home. And big patch of blood actually in the hair of Danny Welbeck. He's been cut open quite badly actually. I think he'll be okay to continue, but on protocols he's been taken off the pitch, and he's just receiving a little bit of treatment, but the game should be getting ready to continue momentarily. Welbeck tried to sneak back onto the field, but the referee, Simon Hooper, aware of the rules of his job, and sends Welbeck off to the touchline, and Brighton will be with 10 men momentarily. They were with 10 men earlier in this game for a brief moment, and in that moment they conceded a goal as Kairi Mitoma was getting some help with some contact lenses possibly, or having some eye drops put into his eyes or something in the other. And while he was off the pitch, Nottingham Forest went up the other end and scored a goal to put them in complete control of this game. 3-0, 60 minutes played. Triple change for Brighton at half-time. Hasn't really done the business. They've been probing, but they haven't created anything really significant. And so Forest will feel comfortable where they are. There's been another goal in the Championship, and it's Oxford United ahead against Bristol City. Gregory Lee has put them ahead. They were playing against 10 men at home, and what a season this is turning out to be for Oxford. At one point, they looked in severe danger of getting relegated, but since the sacking of their manager and the bringing in of the new head coach, they are all of a sudden in a great position now to stay up. Gary Rowett has been doing a magnificent job at Oxford, and they're now surprisingly only 6 points clear of, or 6 points adrift of the playoff places. Where at one point when he came in, they were in the relegation zone. So what a turnaround by Gary Rowett, as here can come Jakob Minter for Brighton. Elliot Anderson steps in and wings it back, but then it's won back by Minter here, and he looks to square it across, and Sells was worried because it ricocheted all over the place and nearly crept in at his near post, and he poked it round the post with a diving left hand. This is good probing play from Minter. Loses possession but doesn't give up on the chance. Wins it back off Williams, maybe just gets the pass wrong and tries to cut it back to a Brighton man, but it isn't precise enough, and in the end it comes off the heel of Murillo when he's tipped round the post by Sells, but they were never really in danger there, Nottingham Forest, of the ball being crashed home because it wasn't the most precise of passes. And now the corner for Brighton, and it's headed at the front post. We'll fall back out to the taker O'Reilly. His delivery is woeful, and Danilo will squirm it to Gibbs White on the counter-attack, and now he's got Elanga with him. It's just those two for now. Chris Wood is looking to arrive late, and the first touch from Elanga is loose, and it will go out for a throw-in for Brighton, and Gibbs White will have to tuck straight back in. O'Reilly out to Lamptey out on the left-hand side. He can find a Dingra to his left. Back to Dunk. Now Van Hecker. Out to Gomez in the middle of the park. And the game hasn't quite had the same intensity as the first period did. That will largely be due to the fact that Nottingham Forest will probably feel like it's job done for them. They don't need to come out their shell and attack all too much, whereas for Brighton, they have it all to do, and they've been getting frustrated at the ease that Forest have found at times in this game. Although they've won the ball back high here with Danny Welbeck. He looks for Jorginho Rutter. He looks back for the 1-2 when it was loose of a pass, and Forest will come away with Murillo again, and he can try and burn Rutter down the outside. It's a good challenge by Rutter, but Forest still win the throw-in, and Nottingham Forest nearly turned giving the ball away at the edge of their own penalty area to a counter-attack in a few seconds' time through the actions of one centre-half. It's clumsy play from Brighton. They've got to make those moments count. It looks like there will be a substitution for Nottingham Forest shortly. Bring you exactly news of who that is coming off in place. I believe it's Dominguez coming on in the middle of the park. You'd expect it to be one of Danilo or Anderson as the ball is long towards Chris Wood, gathered by Veltman. Wood applying the pressure. Veltman topples over, and it is going to be given as a foul. It looks a little bit of a loose one. But Chris Wood, touch was poor and then maybe clumsily bundled the man over. Definitely not a yellow card, though, and the referee hasn't given that. And Ola Aina is able to win the long ball that Brighton attempt, and now they can come forwards on the counter-attack again with Danilo. And Brighton won possession back less than 10 seconds ago. They're already bearing in with Anthony Elanga driving in on goal here. It's Elanga still going. He gets round. Dunk looks to square it across. It's 4-0 to Nottingham Forest. That is ruthless. It's Chris Wood, and Nottingham Forest are running rampant. And for Brighton, this is woeful. They pile onto the floor to Elanga. He's out of breath from how much he sprinted. Chris Wood, that might be the easiest goal he'll score all season because he was practically on the goal line. And the Forest fans in jubilation once again. It is Nottingham Forest 4, Brighton 0 after 63 minutes. Chris Wood second of the afternoon, his 16th of the season. And for Brighton, there are so many questions to be asked of just how on earth this is happening. There will be a check for offside. It looks like Wood is behind the ball, and the goal should stand. Elanga driving the ball 30, 40 yards towards the byline and cutting it across, and neither Dunk or O'Reilly get anywhere near Elanga as he looks to put this ball across, and Chris Wood sweeps it in 2 yards away from goal down the middle, and Nuno Espirito Santo raises a fist in jubilation and high fives all across his bench. They know that this is now the job done. 64 minutes, 4-0, and Brighton are being disgraced away from home. A reminder, that goal came from Brighton winning the ball back high, less than 20 yards away from goal, gifting possession away, winning possession back again at the edge of their own penalty area, then losing it themselves and conceding a goal all in the space of about a minute. They had an opportunity to score. They then had an opportunity to clear. They took neither, and they were ruthlessly punished by Anthony Elanga and Chris Wood. It's Elanga's third assist of the game. It's Wood's second goal of the game. And for Nottingham Forest, this is dreamland for them, and they are enjoying this afternoon now, as Brighton will try and huff and puff and find something. Minter with Rutter on the overlap on the right-hand side. And it's won back again by Nottingham Forest and fouled then by Jorginho Rutter, and frustration growing for Brighton. It was Danilo who came off for Dominguez in the midst of that goal, and he's soaking up the applause from the City ground. It's his first start of the season, Danilo, and he will feel very pleased that his contributions will be to a 4-0 lead when he leaves the pitch. And you feel the way this game is going, if there are to be more goals, it will only be more in favour of the Reds, but that remains to be seen. There's been an equalising goal for Bristol City against the run of play against Oxford away from home. It was Mark Sykes with it from a set piece. It was rolled to him at the edge of the box, and he lashed it into the top corner in an excellent finish. And Oxford been pegged back. Gary Arrett's side 1-1 there. The 10-man of Bristol fighting back. It's still Norwich 1, Watford 0. It's still Plymouth 0, West Brom 0. And the longer that goes on at 0-0, the more that Plymouth will be really, really pleased with how this game's going. They've not created an awful amount of chances, Plymouth, but what they have done is defended their box really well, and this could be a really big point for them to try and claw back some momentum. As Forest have won the ball back high, it's Wood into Gibbs White, and it was a Tariq Lamptey block away from being 5-0. And the way this Forest side are playing, they won't let me give any roundup and tick any boxes that I'm supposed to do for how ruthless Nottingham Forest are. Forest 4, Brighton 0, 66 minutes on the clock. Fabian Hertzler has sat down. He's zipped his jacket all the way up. It looks like he does not want to be there, and the Brighton fans are leaving the Bridgeford stand, and they're making their way home already. Over 25 minutes left, you'd imagine, in this game, and Brighton have definitely seen enough. It'll be another Forest corner taken out on the right-hand side for Forest. It'll be swung in. It'll be an out-swinging delivery from the right boot of Anderson. Usual suspects in the middle. It's away by Minter at the front post. It'll be collected by Dominguez. And there's a huge appeal in the box here, and the crowd have gone up. Gibbs White has gone down. I believe a penalty may have been awarded to Nottingham Forest here. And I'll wait to see the replay here. I didn't quite catch what happened, but the corner was swung into the box. It was hooked away by Minter. I think a body went down at the back post, and Simon Hooper has pointed to the spot. It's Lamptey on Gibbs White, and that is a stonewall penalty. Tariq Lamptey has completely lost his mind. He's got two arms around the waist of Morgan Gibbs White, and he bulldozes him to the floor. Gibbs White has his arms up in the air to prove that he's holding no contact back. The Forest captain is yanked to the floor, and they'll have the chance for 5 here. And I don't think there could be too many complaints from Brighton. If this penalty has been awarded, the VAR, just having a double check, I can't imagine why this will be disallowed. For Lamptey, he's just got to be cleverer. Loses his mind. He absolutely bulldozes him to the floor, and Forest didn't even need the chance to redeliver this ball into the box. And Chris Wood now has the chance for a hat-trick. Penalty is confirmed. It was a quick check as expected. Chris Wood steps up to plant the ball. Bart Verbruggen will stand in front of him. This would be for 5 for Nottingham Forest. Verbruggen looks to make himself big. Chris Wood stands with composure, places the ball on the spot. He'll take a few steps back. This will be taken right-footed in front of the Forest fans. This is the chance to make it 5-0 before 70 minutes. He looks focused, Chris Wood. A couple of deep breaths. Verbruggen is trying to impose himself. The whistle goes, and Chris Wood, at his own pace, will step up here to take this penalty. He takes a slow run up. It's Chris Wood, right-footed. It's 5-0. He sends Verbruggen the wrong way. It's a hat-trick for Chris Wood. He will collect the match ball at the end of the game. And Nottingham Forest are running riot once again. 5-0. Chris Wood with it. And that is his third of the game. And Tariq Lamptey has had an absolute nightmare today. He got caught out for 2 of the 3 goals in the first half and now has conceded a penalty, which Chris Wood has dutifully dispatched. Gives Verbruggen the eyes, sends him the wrong way. The penalty isn't right in the corner, but it doesn't need to be because Verbruggen goes flying the wrong way. And Chris Wood has a hat-trick. And Nuno Espirito Santo will be overjoyed with how good this game is going. For Nottingham Forest, they lost 5-0 in their last outing, just as a reminder. They lost by 5-0 to Bournemouth last weekend. Who would have thought they would respond to a 5-0 loss with a 5-0 win here today? Remarkable stuff for them. It's Forest 5, Brighton 0. It's Chris Wood with 3, Elanga with 3 assists for those goals as well. And Gibbs White and an own goal for Dunk were the other ones. For Forest, it is their biggest win of the season on track for. They don't score too many to nil. Their highest win was just the 3. They've won 3-0 away from home at Wolves and 3-0 at home against West Ham. But they've broke the 4 barrier today. And not only have they done that, they've hit 5. And Chris Wood has scored more goals against Brighton than any other opponent in his career. So those with more knowledge than me may have seen this Chris Wood hat-trick coming. But what we certainly didn't see coming was this limp of a Brighton performance. They've been rubbish today. And they have 20 minutes to see this game out. And now it will really be damage control. Their goal difference is taking a big, big hit. Before the game, they were on +4 goal difference. They were 5 goals ahead of Aston Villa, which meant if they won, they would go above Villa on goal difference. Now they are staying 3 points behind Villa and have now equaled their goal difference of -1. That's a bad stat for Forest, for Brighton to have. They're putting themselves in danger of being overtaken by both Brentford and Fulham this weekend. They could finish in the bottom half this weekend because they've been thumped by so many goals. And it looks as if Murillo is going to be taken off here. He was on a yellow card in the first half, but he's gone down with a slight knock, I believe, and he's coming off, and it will be Willy Bolly replacing him. Gibbs White is also taken off to a standing ovation, and Jota Silva is brought on. He had joined over the summer, and he would love to get himself in on the act today of a couple of goals. The England international Gibbs White with a standing ovation, as said, and Jota with all smiles as he welcomes him off the pitch and joins in himself. Forest 5, Brighton 0, 72 minutes on the clock. And how much of a enjoyable afternoon this will have been for the Forest fans, and indeed for Nuno Espirito Santo. He kind of imagined it going as well as it has. There is a change for Brighton, and Evan Ferguson is brought on. He's been subject to many a transfer rumour. Danny Welbeck is the man taken off, and Ferguson is brought on in favour of him. Teams like Chelsea and West Ham sniffing around him. Also potentially offers from Italy, but as things stand, he's staying at Brighton Hove Albion and is on the field now. And if he can score a goal, his admirers might be urged to throw a bit of money towards Brighton. So he could be playing for his way out of Brighton if he so wants that. As Dominguez and Elanga linking up. Morato to Milenkovic. Willy Bolly is next to him, back to Sells. Collected by Gomez. Now Van Hecker. Launch long, and it's won by Milenkovic. And Wood will knock it down to Elliot Anderson. He's got Elanga with him. Can Elanga get himself on the score sheet? He's got 3 assists today, of course. He's got Anderson with him. Looks to the byline to Anderson, who can look for a back heel, and it nearly squeezed its way into Elanga. And Forest are playing with so much confidence now as Rutter has found Evan Ferguson. Now with O'Reilly. And Dunk now, and he goes out to the left-hand side towards Adingra. And he looks towards Lamptey, who was very high up indeed, and it's lost out, and he's out of position now if Forest can find an option, as Aina looks down the line for Jota Silva, but it's blocked by O'Reilly, and Forest will have the throw. 14 minutes left in this game. Forest 5, Brighton 0. Those championship scorelines I'll bring you those now, as last we heard Oxford were 1-1 with Bristol City. That is still the case, but a huge goal in Plymouth. West Brom have just found the lead with 15 minutes to play. Jason Malumbi with it. So West Brom have finally broken the resilient defence of Plymouth, and they are now comfortably sitting in the playoff places by 3 points. They have leapfrogged Blackburn and Middlesbrough today with the result, and they're starting to slowly close the gap on the likes of Sunderland and Burnley ahead of them. Still 13 points off the top of the table and 10 points away from automatic promotion. But if they can put a run together under Tony Mowbray, the hope of automatics isn't quite over. A big win today. If results go their way, who knows? But Jason Malumbi is the man who's put them in front against Plymouth. And what a huge goal that could be for their season, as they will hope to have Premier League ambitions. As Elanga is brought down and he's in a bit of discomfort with his arm here as he landed on the ball. He's screaming in pain and holding his wrist. Forest fans will hope that this isn't too serious, because he tries to catch himself and maybe lands awkwardly on his elbow. He's receiving a bit of treatment. The physio are coming on, and Elanga 3 assists today. The Swedish, signed from Manchester United a couple of seasons ago, and the Brian Clough stand at the City Ground will hope that their star player, or one of their many star players as it's been this season, will be okay. 30,164 at the City Ground with 15 minutes to go. That number is probably closer to 28, 27,000, because the Brighton end has been thinning fast ever since the 4th one went in, and the 5th one was possibly a sign for a lot of those Brighton fans to head to the bar to enjoy what they had left of this away day. Few resilient Seagulls still left over. Surely even they believe that this game is very, very over. They would need to get 6 in 14 minutes if they were to win this game. And Elanga is back to his feet. He seems to be still feeling at that elbow. He is back and okay now, and you just wonder whether they won't risk him and the substitution maybe made. He, of course, has to stay off for 30 seconds as per the rules. Now he's received treatment, and Sells will now take the goal kick along up towards Wood, headed by Van Hecker. It's claimed in the middle of the park by O'Reilly. Dunk looks long to the left-hand side towards Adingra, but Willy Bolly with a lovely little fake as he watches the ball roll all the way through to the Belgian Sells in goal. And it's been too familiar of a story for Nottingham Forest, this. Oh, for Brighton, for Nottingham Forest, they'll be okay with this familiar story. But for Brighton, they just haven't been able to test this Forest defence enough. The closest they came was Danny Welbeck crashing the bar. There was a good chance for Jakob Minter one-on-one as well, but they've gifted so many opportunities away. Neco Williams has hit the post outside of these 5 goals, as well as a good opportunity for Anthony Elanga to get himself on the score sheet in between the first and second goals. A reminder of those goals: Lewis Dunk scored an own goal after 12 minutes. Morgan Gibbs-White's cross looked destined to find Chris Wood, but Dunk got there first and prodded it into his own net. The second goal was from a corner. It was Gibbs-White with it, and he got on the end of Elanga's set piece and glanced in at the front post expertly. The third goal was Chris Wood. He headed it in from Anthony Elanga. Both the first and the third goals came from Tariq Lamptey being caught out of position, and it was probed and pressured by the wingers, who both times should have found Chris Wood. The first one was turned in an own goal. The second time, Chris Wood made no mistake in getting himself in and heading it home. And then the fourth goal was Chris Wood again. Elanga with a delightful 30-yard run to the byline, and he cut it across, and Wood had a tap in. And the fifth goal was a moment of madness from Tariq Lamptey pulling over Morgan Gibbs-White from a set piece, and it was converted by Chris Wood for his hat-trick. And in the midst of all that, Forest have just won themselves a free kick 25 yards from goal, just off to the left. Van Hecker took out Neco Williams. He does get a bit of the ball, but he definitely goes through the man first and can't have too many complaints, as much as he will try to. And Simon Hooper blew his whistle very quickly. And it looks as if Nuno Espirito Santo is calling for another substitution to be made. He is in deep conversation with his bench, has just sent a few players to warm up. I'm not exactly sure who they are, but of course, if the substitute comes on, we'll give you news of that immediately. It looks like Tyler Awoniyi is looking to come on. He hasn't got much game time this season because of Chris Wood's ability in front of goal. It's Elanga's ball in is towards Willy Bolly, and Verbruggen made the decision to come and claim it and managed to just about get in front of it. If Bolly had got the first touch, it would have been an open net, but the Brighton goalkeeper was brave and made the claim and denied Forest a sixth goal here. And Veltman can drive out. Van Hecker into Gomez. Now O'Reilly. And Brighton will be hoping they can find some positive in this game. If they can just get one goal. Oh, it's a horrid pass from Van Hecker, and Chris Wood wins it back high. Jota Silva, now Wood out wide to Elanga. And that is so disappointing from Brighton. Van Hecke, casual, trying to play a no-look pass at 5-0 down. There's no Brighton player anywhere near him, and he gives possession back away to Forest on the halfway line, and they will happily take that and slow the game right down again. And Elanga looks into Chris Wood's feet. It just about evades him, and Jota Silva will press as the ball goes back to Verbruggen. Verbruggen goes long out to the left-hand side. It's won by Morato. Now Williams hooks it forward about 40 yards from the Brighton goal now with Van Hecke. He goes back home to Verbruggen, and this Forest press has suddenly become very energetic, and the ball is going to be gobbled up comfortably by a Forest defender as Evan Ferguson challenges and picks up the second ball and finds O'Reilly just outside the centre spot now. Then he works wide to Jakub Minter, 25 yards from goal out on the left-hand side. He can deliver into the box. It's a high looping ball towards Tariq Lamptey of all people. It's claimed by Ola Aina. And Jota looked to burst away, and the Paraguayan Gomes could only concede a throw in. It's a double change. Sangare and Awoniyi are coming on, and Chris Wood, the man who was given the armband from Gibbs White when he was taken off, will pass the armband over again. He scored a hat-trick today, Chris Wood, and he will now hand the armband off, and he will make his way for a well-earned rest. He's done his job. When you pick to lead the line, you dream of scoring a hat-trick. He's given Anthony Elanga a big high five. Anthony Elanga deserves ample credit for the assists that he's got, and Gibbs White is also on the bench, so he will join the 2 goal scorers, and Elliot Anderson is also going to make way for Ibrahima Sangare as well, the Ivorian international. Both Forest goal scorers now off the field. The only goal scorer left on the pitch is Lewis Dunk. He prodded one into his own net after 10 minutes, and now Taiwo Awoniyi played a big part in Forest staying up when they were in a relegation battle. Now he'll be hoping that he can build up a little head of steam to try and challenge Chris Wood. But it is so hard as a centre-forward to work your way into the starting 11 when your opposite number and your direct opposition to starting is scoring hat-tricks and is challenging Mo Salah's scoring record this season. So Awoniyi is having to be patient. He'll be given 10 minutes today to see what he can do. Is clever footwork by O'Reilly on the left-hand side, and now Brighton can look to play some nice 1-2s as Lamptey overruns it. And here is Taiwo Awoniyi, and he can poke it through to Jota Silva, but Van Hecke reads it and gets there first. 82 minutes on the clock. Nottingham Forest 5, Brighton 0. And the game has been over for some time now, really. It's been damage limitation for Brighton. And there's been another huge goal, actually, at Plymouth, because I said that West Bromwich Albion are a goal up. Well, now, actually, it is 1-1. Ryan Hardy has scored a penalty just 2 minutes after the goal. It was Jed Wallace who was given a yellow card in the mix of it, but it was Callum Stiles with a handball. He blocked Ryan Hardy, shot Hardy, stepped up and sent the goalkeeper the wrong way and gave Plymouth the equaliser. And now, again, they're back to square one here. It was 0-0. West Brom finally broke the deadlock, but just 2 minutes later, back on level terms. Watford still losing at home to Norwich. Oxford still being held by 10-man Bristol. And 2 draws and a win down in the Championship. Norwich going to be the winners of the day as free kick is taken very, very poorly and by O'Reilly. And Dunk collides into Sells, and Sells hits the deck. And Simon Hooper has no interest in that theatrics. 83 minutes on the clock. And we're at the end of a busy Champions League and Europa League week. That doesn't come back for another couple of weeks. Neither of these sides are involved in European football. Both have ambitions of making it there. Forest will be hoping they can finish in a Champions League place because they've been having an unbelievable season. They're third in the table. They're 6 points clear of Newcastle in fifth. They're 7 points clear of Chelsea in sixth place. And those European coefficient rules means that fifth might be enough for Forest. They're in a really good position of playing in the Champions League next season. And what a result that would be for them. And we've seen what Aston Villa have been able to do. Forest and Villa, parallels between those two over the last couple of years. As Elanga can drive forward, he's got Awoniyi with him, uses Nico Williams on the overlap, and it'll bobble into Bart Verbruggen's hands, and Brighton get away with that one. There's been a second red card in the game between Oxford and Bristol City, and Bristol are down to 9 men now. Ross McCrory's been sent off for a second yellow card on Kieran Brown, his foul there, and Oxford will play against 9 men for the last few minutes as they will seek to try and find a goal in the game. Plymouth 1, West Brom 1, and Norwich 1, Watford 0. Watford down to 10 men in that game as well. Those are the latest scores, and while this game's quiet, we'll have a little look at the starting lineups for the Premier League games later on. For Bournemouth against Liverpool, Kepa, Cook, Zabania, Hoyson and Kerkez, with Christie and Adams in midfield. Brooks, Kluivert, Semenyo and Atara is the attacking unit for a Bournemouth side who will look to build on their 5-0 win against Nottingham Forest as Brighton come forward now with Minter. It's blocked by Neco Williams out for a throw-in, and we'll run you through that Liverpool team quickly. Alisson is back in goal. Robertson, Van Dijk, Kanate, Trent Alexander-Arnold, McAllister, Gravenberg, Szoboszlai, Salah, Diaz, Gakpo is the front three. So Cody Gakpo keeps his spot despite starting in midweek, and Mohamed Salah will look to fend off pressure from Chris Wood in the Golden Boot race. In the game at the Goodison Park between Everton and Leicester, Pickford is the goalkeeper. O'Brien, Tarkowski, Branthwaite and Mikalenko is the back four, with Garner, Guy and Doucouré the midfield. Beto leads the line in Calvert-Lewin's absence, with Lindstrom and Inaman Ndiaye the wide players. Therefore, Leicester, Hermansen, Christensen, Vestergaard, Faust and Justin is the back four, with Sumair, Winks and Elkanis a midfield three. Bobby D, Cordova-Reid and Jordan Ayew will flank either side of Jamie Vardy through the middle for Ruud van Nistelrooy's men. Ipswich and Southampton. This is a relegation 15-pointer, it feels. For Ipswich, a win today would be massive for them. A loss for Southampton could see them all but confirm relegated, because they're slipping so far off the pace. 11 points adrift, and Ipswich are their most direct rivals. The starting 11s for that game are as follows. Muric, Twanzebe, O'Shea, Greaves and Davis is the back four for Ipswich, with Morsey, Cajuste and Julio Enciso a midfield three. Broadhead is in there as well, with Hutchinson and Liam Delap in the attacking outlets. Here was Rutter can step forward, and he's going to be fouled, and it will be a Brighton free kick about 20 yards from goal. Sangare brought him down, and maybe a chance for Brighton to get themselves on the score sheet here, because Rutter looked purposeful and he was clipped cynically by Sangare. He's possibly lucky to avoid a yellow card if he has. And the free kick is just off to the right, about 22 yards from goal, 22, 23 yards from goal. And Matt O'Reilly has the ball in his hand, but the Paraguayan Gomes is holding it, as well as the Southampton team in that game is Ramsdale, Harwood, Bellis, Bednarek and Bree as a back three, with Wellington and Walker-Peters. The wing-backs, Aribo, Ogachukwu and Fernandez are the midfield three, with Grumbeck and Paul Onuachu, the attacking players. So no Dibbling in the starting 11. He is on the bench, as is Kamaldeen Sulemala and Adam Armstrong. And we'll run you through the teams in the game between Newcastle and Fulham just after this set piece here, because there's 3 minutes left on the clock. It's Nottingham Forest 5, Brighton 0. O'Reilly has placed the ball and will step away. This is a really good shooting position. This is almost a set piece taker's dream. And he will step up and go for it. And it's tipped over the bar expertly by Sells, and Brighton will have to settle for a corner. It's a really good stop by Sells. He's determined to keep his clean sheet, and he's tipped it round the post, and it'll be a corner to Brighton. Not quite in the corner, and Sells was equal to it. Just doesn't quite get enough pace on it, but it is curving away as the set piece is into the box and flicked on by Rutter and flicked on wide of the post, and Forest will restart from a goal kick. Now the team news between Newcastle and Fulham. Gabravka, Livramento, Cher, Byrne and Hall is the defensive unit, with Guimaraes, Tonali and Joelinton a midfield three. Jacob Murphy and Anthony Gordon will be either side. The prolific Alexander Isak up top. As for Fulham, Raul Jimenez leads the line, with Iwobi and Traore the attacking players. Emil Smith-Rowe is in there as well, with Sanderberg and Lukic in the middle of the park. Captain Anthony Robinson is left back, with Castagna at right back. Anderson and Bassi are the defensive players, with Bernd Leno in goal for Marco Silva's men. The likes of Muniz and Tom Kearney, the options off the bench for Fulham, away at St James's Park at 3 o'clock there. And an unbelievable turnaround in the game between Plymouth and West Brom, because West Brom were a goal up and cruising in that game for all of 2 minutes, but a Ryan Hardy double has put Plymouth 2-1 up. A massive celebration for Plymouth, and what a result this could be, as Tola Awoniyi's broken into a little bit of room here. It's Awoniyi checking inside. This should be 6-0. Awoniyi, what a save. The rebound will fall to Sangare. Can he turn it in? Nico Williams, top corner. It's 6-0 to Nottingham Forest. Nico Williams has been knocking on the door all day. He really wanted a goal, and he's found it in a clumsy fashion in the last minute of the game. And it's Nottingham Forest 6, Brighton Hove Albion 0. Brighton are complaining, and there will be plenty to look at for VAR, because bodies were tumbling everywhere. Awoniyi's involvement was massive, and Abraham Sangare nearly turned the ball home. And then after all of that, it was slammed in by Neco Williams. It was brilliant from Awoniyi to check inside of Van Hecker, and then Sangare. Sorry, I was just watching the replay there. Sangare believes he was bundled over. Brighton maybe believe that Sangare has used his hand to control this ball and maybe even fouled Jakob Minter. Brighton then believe that Sangare on the floor has used his hand to flick the ball into the path of Nico Williams. Doesn't seem intentional, but the ball has hit his hand definitely. And then Nico Williams has placed the ball perfectly into the top corner of the net. And as for now, it's 6-0. You have to ask what the first infringement was here, because there's an argument that Nottingham Forest should have a penalty before the ball gets anywhere near Sangare's hand. So plenty to unpack for VAR. As things stand, it's 6-0 to Nottingham Forest. We're into the 90th minute now. We'll find out how much added time is in place shortly. Williams knee sliding away in celebration in the midst of it all. And Verbruggen is claiming that it's hit the hand. And Simon Hooper, the referee, is having a nice long look at this. I wonder if he'll be sent over to the screen. But the goal is given. Check complete. And there are 9 minutes of stoppage time. There was another 3 goals in this half and a few substitutions. It is Nottingham Forest 6. Brighton 0, and fans in attendance for Nottingham Forest getting their money's worth. Oh, it's a huge mistake by Verbruggen at the back. It should be 7-0. Jota Silva, it's 7-0. My goodness me, what is going on? Nottingham Forest 7, Brighton 0. I can't believe what I'm watching. It's a defensive howler from Verbruggen under no pressure. Brighton off their own kickoff. They go backwards and backwards again to their goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper tries to play a composed pass out wide. Jota Silva comes flying in, takes it off the man's toes and passes it into an empty net. Unbelievable stuff. Brighton fans in full voice there must be seeing the funny side of it. Van Hecke went back home, and Verbruggen looks to try and sweep it out to Lamptey. He gets it horribly wrong. And Jota Silva has all the time in the world to pick his spot in the back of the net and finish past Verbruggen. I mean, it's not even like Jota Silva's particularly tight on Lamptey either. It's just a horribly paced pass. Jota Silva off the bench, and will do him a world of good to strike this home. And for Nottingham Forest, it feels like anyone's being given a go now, because the substitute scored. Nico Williams from right back has scored. And Fabian Hertzler can't believe it. A big smile from the Nottingham Forest owner. Even his stern and mysterious looks can't hide the fact that he can't believe his side are 7-0 up at home against a European rival. It is Nottingham Forest 7, Brighton 0. And there's 2 minutes of the 9 minutes played. So there's 7 more minutes for it to get worse. And Nottingham Forest might have half an eye on double figures here if they can play this quickly. And that is the ultimate insult to Brighton. This will be a day to remember for Forest. Doesn't matter how this season ends. Now, even if they do go the distance and get Champions League football, this will surely be a favourite home game of the season. As Minter steps inside and looks to cross, it's headed away by Milenkovic. Huge cheers from the Forest fans, only as far as Minter, who can go again, looks to cut it across. It's collected by Sangare. He looks out wide to Awoniyi, who looks to spin Van Hecke, and it's a really good tackle actually from Claude Van Hecke, because Taiwo Awoniyi would have had the space of the City ground to run in behind there. And it's collected by O'Reilly, and there's 6 minutes to go here in this game between Nottingham Forest and Brighton. It's Nottingham Forest 7, Brighton 0. Lamptey inside to Adingra. Lamptey loses possession, and Ola Aina will collect. It's Lamptey on the ball again for Forest, as Aina couldn't squeeze out of a gap. O'Reilly. Adingra. Back to O'Reilly. He can look to cross to the back post. It's headed away by Morato, and it will be a Brighton corner and a sarcastic roar from the Brighton away end as they have the chance to take a set piece. Chris Wood has been awarded the man of the match here, and unsurprisingly so, as he has scored a hat-trick today. The player of the match, I should say, as it falls to Minter at the back post. And goes down under some pressure there, does Evan Ferguson. It won't be a foul, and now Elanga can come out, and he's got Jota Silva and Awoniyi with him. Here is Jota Silva. It's a 3-on-4 for Forest. It's a lovely one too, as Elanga can look for Awoniyi, and Jakob Minter gets back, and Forest are certainly not taking their feet off the gas. Anthony Elanga pulling faces to the Forest fans. They can't believe it. It's still 2-1 to Plymouth in that game there in the Championship. Bristol City, 9-man Bristol City, come from behind to earn a draw and hold on in the game between them and Oxford, and Norwich City are a few moments away from victory at Vicarage Road against Watford. It's still 1-0 to the Canaries there. Forest 7-0 up, and they want more. And We've played 94 minutes, a corner in by Elanga to the front post. It's cleared away by a Brighton head. It'll fall as far as Aina. Crowd wanted him to have a go, but couldn't get it out of his feet. And instead, we'll look for Jota Silva. And he's in acres of space here, Jota Silva. This could be 8-0. Looks at the back post to Elanga. Can he get his shot away? It's Elanga. Goes down. No penalty. And Brighton will squeeze away. That was a huge chance for 8, but they've won it back now with Dominguez. He looks to the back post. Jota Silva's in space again. It's Jota Silva across. And goodness me, you'd think Forest were pushing for a last gasp winner or something, because they are flying bodies forward, desperate for more goals. And Jota Silva's at the heart of it all since he's come on. It's an outstanding first touch on the outside of his boot, and he looks to sort of come shot it across the face. And Aina was the closest man to it, but it was just hit with too much venom. It flashed by him in an instant. And Nottingham Forest, they want 8 or 9, and Awanyani's won it back inside the penalty area. It's Brighton are absolutely at mess here. This feels like a Sunday League team almost. No disrespect to Brighton. They know they haven't been on it today, but these last 5 minutes, it's been an embarrassment. There's been no competitive spirit from Brighton. And out wide to Minter, and they can try and save themselves a bit of face no matter what. It doesn't matter if it finishes 7-3 now. They'll know it's been an embarrassment of the highest order, as Ferguson has the ball near the corner flag now. Has Rutter in a bit of space if he can find him. But Ferguson will look to go alone. Comes inside to O'Reilly. Now Rutter skips inside of Sangare and goes for goal, and it'll be straight down the middle and gobbled up by Matt Sells. And Fabian Hertzer will have nothing to smile about at the end of the day today. Brighton enjoying their day out by the looks of it. We just got a shot of the away fans, and they're still in full voice. Can't imagine away day will get much worse for them this season, but they're making a party out of it to their credit. Jota Silva is dispossessed by Lamptey. Aina pressing high. O'Reilly. Now launched long by him. Willy Bolly will gobble that up. And Ola Aina will collect. Now Sangare back to Aina. And it's walking football now for Nottingham Forest. The job is absolutely done, and Brighton aren't particularly pressing them too high. Aina knocks the ball off Gomez, and it'll go out for a throw-in. And Aina soaking up the applause from the Forest fans in front of him. Willy Bolly will take a slow walk to knock the other ball off the field, as Aina is collecting a ball from touch. 2 minutes to go here. Nottingham Forest 7, Brighton 0. Elanga with it. The goal is just a reminder. Lewis Dunk with an own goal for the opener. Morgan gives White with a header from a corner before Chris Wood was offered a tap-in by Elanga. The 4th goal was Chris Wood again. The 5th goal was Chris Wood again, a penalty. And then the 6th goal was Nico Williams arriving at the edge of the penalty area to slam home in the end from the 6-yard box, because there was a bit of pandemonium in the box. And the 7th goal was Jota Silva after a defensive howler for Bruggen. Elanga just overruns the ball, and there's a minute to go here. And you'd imagine that Brighton will hope this minute passes quickly so they can get home on what has been an embarrassment of a game for them. Minter. Sangare wins it back. Neco Williams, and to Forest have got a ruthless touch to them. They are still desperate to get goals. Dominguez now with it by the corner flag. He finds Elanga, who can't scoop it through enough for Nico Williams, but they've won it back high. It's Elanga again. He's dispossessed by Sangare, and then Sangare brought down his man, and on his way down it, I think accidentally, but the ball has been absolutely launched at the head of Jorginho Rutter as he's falling by Dominguez. I think Sangare will receive a yellow card for his foul. I'm not sure there's too much in this from Dominguez. He hasn't intended to connect with the ball. I'm not sure whether it even does connect with Rutter's head. He might be milking that one slightly, but we are now into the last minute. Well, through the last minute now. We've got 10 seconds left in this game, and you'd expect the referee won't want to hang around for too much longer once his watch signifies the end of this game. We've played 99 minutes. There were 9 minutes of added time. There's been 9 minutes played. It's Nottingham Forest 7, Brighton 0, and there is the full-time whistle. Nuno Espirito Santo shakes Fabian Hertz's hand. It has been an absolute schooling from the Portuguese. Hertzler got it all wrong. Nuno got it so right, and his players absolutely punished. A hat-trick from Chris Wood. Anthony Elanga with a hat-trick of assists. Jota Silva off the bench to get one. Nico Williams with one from right back as well. and it's a famous night for Forest, one that will live in the memory. They start this game week with a 7-0 thumping of Brighton to improve their hopes. Now, just quickly to confirm those Championship scorelines as well. West Brom have lost to Plymouth. Oxford have drew 1-1 with Bristol City, and Watford have lost 1-0 to Norwich City. So the Championship table taking a twist. West Brom at one point were cruising and looking to try and keep pace with the sides towards the top. They've slipped back off it again and lost the game. Now they could end this weekend outside of the playoff places if results go against them. Oxford with a good result against Bristol City as well. Bristol City down to 9 men, but Oxford taking points off a side above them in the table, and Norwich City beating Watford by a 1-0 thanks to Josh Sargent. He scored a red card for Watford early on in that game as well. And the Premier League table then will end you with that. Liverpool still lead the way. They've got Bournemouth at 3 o'clock. Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, Manchester City are the top 4. Newcastle, Chelsea, Bournemouth make up the top 7, with Villa and Brighton as things stand just outside them. But Brighton, with their point tally, they could be caught by Fulham if they can win at Newcastle, and they could be caught at Brentford if they get a result in their game as well. They play tomorrow against Tottenham Hotspur, and you would feel certainly that the spirits will be high looking at that result today, hoping that they can rise above in the table. The goal difference of Brighton has taken a huge hit. Manchester United down in 12th, Crystal Palace and West Ham in 13th and 14th, Tottenham in 15th place, Everton, Leicester, Wolves, Ipswich and Southampton, the bottom 5, all in action today. Everton and Leicester play each other, as do Ipswich and Southampton. So a big day at the bottom of the table. And then Wolves have got a Midlands derby against Aston Villa at 5:30 tonight. And we'll keep a close eye on that, because Villa could hope to pull away from Brighton, and Wolves could look to try and pull away from the relegation places. And the Brighton fans are almost out of pity clapping to their Brighton players to give credit to Brighton. Every single one of them is over there apologising to the away end. Thank you very much for joining me. I've been Ben Hipkiss for Sherwood Hallam Radio, and that has been commentary of Nottingham Forest 7, Brighton 0. And hopefully we will see each other again very soon. Thank you very much.